Once again, a very good morning to all, and welcome you
Yeah,
all to the 16th webinar of Plan Reading webinar series. These webinars are being organized by the Foundation for Advanced Training in Plan Reading on a monthly basis. And today we have Dr. Manju Vishwakarma, who will talk about breeding vegetable crop for sustainable farming. The purpose of these webinars are to sensitize people and to know the value and importance of plant breeding, and also create an awareness on various aspects like technology integration, policy support, regulatory overview, farmers' comprehensions, and various other aspects required for inclusive development of agriculture. Foundation for Advanced Training in Plant Breeding, abbreviated as ATPBR, is a non-profit organization, and we aim to promote advanced technology in plant breeding and develop qualified plant breeders who would complement and add value to the existing system. We organize professional trainings, workshop, and various awareness sessions to build required competencies of the global standard. And we also organize annual conference named as 5-Year Farming Conference in different locations across India. Now, I would like to take the privilege to introduce our moderator, Dr. Suren Tikku. He is the co-founder, Director Research, Breeding and Development at Tierra Agrotech Private Limited, and also an independent director of ATPBR. He has been working for past 53 years as a successful vegetable breeder, teacher, researcher, both in public and private sector. In his career with private sector, he worked with Adventa, Syngenta, Pioneer for about more than 30 years, and with public sector for more than 20 years. There are various successful varieties of tomatoes and okras are patented to his name. So it's an honor and privilege to have Tikku sir with us. Sir, request you to take the floor. Tikku sir.
Aparna, did we lose you or?
I'm here only.
Okay, in between, I just lost the connection. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
you
sir.
are audible. Clear. Go ahead.
Okay. I think I lost the connection in between. Network has some problem. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another seminar from the ATPBR forum. And thank you, Aparna, for that introduction. It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Manju to all of you. Dr. Manju has been a colleague of mine, I think since I joined private sector in '88. I've always been seeing her in various meetings the industry has every year in different parts of the country and outside. So Dr. Manju did her post-graduation in botany with specialization in cytogenetics and her PhD in cytogenetics from Nagpur University. Post completion of PhD, and she's joined as an assistant research officer at Ankur Seeds in 1989, and she is now still there, heading the R&D on general manager R&D at Ankur Seeds in Nagpur. This is rare that in the private seed industry people move, so you can understand her loyalty to the company, and having done well, she has continued there. Extensive research experience in crops like hot pepper, okra, rapeseed, mustard, and has successfully implemented plant breeding technology in the company. Cytology and genetics in vegetable crop has been her forte. She has 16 publications and 2 articles in national and international journals, besides having contributed 1 book chapter. Registered guide, and this is another unique feature of Dr. Manju. I have not seen many in the private sector do that. She continues to be a guide at the Nagpur University to PhD students, and she guides them regularly. So that's a great way to keep in touch with academia, and has been always active participant of All India coordinated vegetable programs since '92. nominated as a committee member for identifying new varieties. She was serving that committee from 2003 to 2013. So many of the varieties that you have seen in vegetables had a hand from her to get them advanced based on, of course, data. Life member of Indian Society of Vegetable Science, attended various national and international conferences and chaired sessions at AVRDC Taiwan, which is now World Vegetable Center, EPSA, and R&D institutions worldwide. So with that introduction, I think we have a very interesting topic. So I look forward to, and we all should look forward to hearing. Dr. Manju, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tikku.
We can hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Very
you can
well.
share your presentation or what.
I'm sharing my screen first.
Yeah, yeah, it is there clear.
Is there clear? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you, Dr. Tikku, and I would like to thank organizing committee ATPBR for giving me this opportunity to give the lecture on this. And thank you so much. Breeding vegetable crops for sustainable farming. This is my topic, and this topic is a very vast topic as such. It has got so many aspects. So I think I'll be covering some few of the aspects which are related to the breeding programs or breeding projects and breeding techniques as such. So let's start on this. And firstly, I will come to my slides are visible, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So the present scenario, if we see, it's the vegetable as such is a very important part of our diet, and growing vegetable is also very essential in the agribusiness. My presentation, breeding vegetables in crop for sustainable farming, is mostly for the Asian continent, prominently India. And India being a very big country with all the diversified things, as you can see, is a different uh, environment, different people, eating habits are different, and also having big markets for seeds as well as for the vegetable produce. And vegetable cultivation to farmers bring good remuneration, like for day-to-day expenses. Like they will have one big crop and then will have a small crop, so that they will take the produce to the market and get the money in returns. So the changes now in the cropping pattern, which is in the existing natural resources and fighting against odds of the climate, the market demands have made vegetable cultivations very difficult. As I say, it has become challengeable now, and have got a high risk also, because farmers are facing that to fight with all these things. And changing cropping pattern, I mean to say, is that they would like to go in for the crops which will give them a good returns. Now I will divide important vegetable crops. I have listed out the crops. The first list of okra, chili, tomato, potato, that gives, those are the cash crops, and mostly they cover the more area. Means hectare wise they cover more area. Second is bottle gourd, ridge gourd, pointed gourd, beans, like that. They also cover and certain area, but again they are not taken as a very important crop, but it's a crop of a necessity. Farmer would like to spare some of the land for this crop. And spinach, furigate, coriander, radish, carrot, again these are the crops, though hybrids have not made much mark on this, but still farmers would like to cultivate this, because this is also getting rolling in money for the farmers. So status of vegetable farming, it is as such that 65% of the farming community still practices traditional methods, and 35% of the farmers have adapted modern technology to their suitability, meaning thereby they just, if you say they would like should do these type of practices like mulching, they should follow polyhouses, they should take, or they should do the cultivation by ridges, harrow, use mechanized farming. But what they will do is they will do as per their suitability, as per their pockets also. And like polyhouses and all, they will just, we can have just one, put one photograph there, see how the bottle gourd is still cultivation is being done. So here the technology is taking up, but it's not up to that mark. Only the BT cotton technology has been taken, accepted very well by the farmer, because the damages done by the bollworm was too high. That's why the BT technology in cotton was taken up. Now, another important thing is key in India, particularly for vegetables, the land holdings by the farmers is very low and the production cost is high nowadays. So that is how again people want to select out their crop, how they will take it, and their investment capacity on it. There is definitely an awareness in the farming community about the climate change, the decline in the natural resources like soil, temperature, everything. It matters, and the market demands and the changing culture of the market. The changing culture of the market, meaning thereby now people would like to go to the Reliance unit, or they also want to buy from the vendors also. But the thing is, the vendors, they take fresh vegetables and they can't keep the vegetable for a longer period. Moreover, in Reliance, you can see the people can keep it for, means the market people can keep it for 2 days also, and we purchase the seed because they are in the protected condition. So like this thing, people are aware, farmers are aware of it. And this is bringing in the change in the cultivation practices, moreover in the post-harvest technology as well. And the most important thing is the available resources and the nearest market for the produce. Means wherever in the region the farmers are, they need to have a nearest market for the produce. Now, demands and requirements. Actually, what demands and requirements, meaning thereby these are required by the growers as well as by the consumers also. That is high productivity. This is the number one thing which the farmers definitely require. Another is the quality of the produce, and quality of the produce, thereby it should have a good shelf life as well. Value of the produce to compensate the high production cost, means whatever produce they are taking into the market, it should get a value. So that is why it should compensate the production cost also. And the suitability and adaptability of the germplasm in that region, definitely this is one of the important character. And market acceptability of the produce. Like if you say small example, I would like to give is, if you are if the market requires a short chili and if we are giving the long chili there, definitely people wouldn't like to take it. And nowadays the thing is, farmer wants to reach the market at, means be first in the market, because once he reaches first in the market, he will get the high value for the produce, meaning thereby we need early materials, early hybrids or early varieties for the market. And off-season cultivation, now this is becoming a practice nowadays. So resistant and tolerant abiotic and biotic stress, these are again the important things. And I think the breeders have taken these things in their breeding projects and programs also for the various crops which they are taking. The factors which are responsible for the uncertainties in the farming is rainfall, temperature fluctuation, photo period, light quality, biotic stress conditions, market demand, sustainability, and adaptability of the regions. I think these are the known things. It's not very important, but still, with the changing climate, change in the climatic conditions, these have become very important. Earlier, what happened? The season of sowing was very important, and these things were taken into consideration. And likewise, the season or the planting time was decided. But now the things have changed. And again, against all these odds, the farmer wants to take 2 to 3 crops per year, taking one big cash crop and another 2 small crops to fetch the good value of the crop. And demand of the new germplasm is always there. New germplasm, meaning thereby to say repeatedly, if they are taking any of the varieties of the hybrid, they want to bring in something new which is definitely different from what the other people are giving in the market, are taking to the market. That's why um, giving a new germplasm becomes a responsibility for us. Now, happening in a surrounding climate change, this has been talked since long, and people are also becoming aware of it. Globally, if you see the climate change, there are many things like the temperature fluctuation, if their glaciers are melting, all this thing is happening. But what is very important is climate change in our region, particularly where the farmers are cultivating, or we are taking into consideration or breeding our material there. Example, nowadays what has happened is summer period or the heat period is prolonging. Every of the other day when you are speaking to people or communicating with the farmer, they will say that um, summer period has prolonged now. So they face, this is playing a very important role. Another important thing is the temperature and humidity is also playing a very important role. That is, the flower and the fruit setting is affected. And dry spell in the region in this rainy season is a very common phenomenon, and these all affect definitely to the productivity of the uh, crop. Quality of life, protective farming, its pros and cons, and change in the crop pattern rotation, and uses of spraying molecules and insecticide definitely affect the health of the crop. I have just touched this subject as protective farming here because nowadays what is happening, to avoid certain things, they are just keeping a small net or just keeping some shade net or anything and taking the crop under that. But many of the times it is definitely they are not aware of that we are giving invitation to the bacterial and fungal diseases as well. Now this charts depicts how the temperature and the atmospheric CO2 is affecting it. It's a self-explanatory chart, how you can get the higher annual yields and higher, what happens exactly in higher temperature. It's showing the negative side of it and the positive side of it. Here I would like to quote one example, that we had one problem particularly in case of brinjal. We had given one green bhattai in on MP district. There, what happened at a certain period, only the green color fruits were coming. Actually, the color of the brinjal was purple and green, both. So the farmer started telling us, "Ki, nahi, nahi, green, it is coming green only, and it's not giving the perfect color what you had shown in the picture." So we got worried exactly what had happened. So after 2 or 3 weeks, when the temperature has risen, the color of the fruit was okay. The farmer just informed us that no, no, now the color is okay. That means understanding what the temperature should be for the genotype and how the expression of the color will be and when it will be, that has to be understood very clearly. And this depicts that. Another example, again, with my practical, I will just share it with you, is in case of chili, particularly, we had given again one F1 and the one F1 just for the trialing. In that, what happened? There was no fruit setting after the temperature has gone to 38, 39. The percent of the setting was very low. But it was definitely giving fetching good yields when the temperature was just 35, 37. Another one of our material which we had given in the market that had given a setting at a temperature of 42 degrees as well. So these are the things one has to understand while we are selecting out a germplasm and how to select out a germplasm, particularly uh, in case of the crops which are heat loving also, sun loving also, and requires the perfect atmospheric conditions. Now we come to sustainable farming. Sustainable farming, as we define it, as an integrated system of agriculture practices that are economically viable and definitely socially supportive, and but important thing, very important thing is it should be largely beneficial. It is very important because it offers solution to the problems caused by the farming methods, which have been the practices which have been followed earlier since 1960. I can say the normal practices which were being followed by the farming community, and repeatedly the crop rotation was not there. The same crops were taken in the places. So these all have created certain problems. So if we go by the sustainable farming methods, I think this will be solved. Sustainable farming is also supportive to the common health and nurtures the society and still very profitable. And if we go by sustainable agriculture process, as we saw, I have given one small diagrammatic picture here. It is soil rejuvenation, then uh, awareness of agriculture, different agriculture methods followed, new germplasm. Hello?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Please go ahead.
So that is how the sustainable agriculture is doing. But what I would like to speak is sustainable agriculture speaks as such as a whole for the country or a continent like that. But what we would like to understand is where we are cultivating our germplasm, that the environment there and the culture there becomes very important for us. Now, crop and plant stresses defines the objectives of the breeding. This picture again is self-explanatory, and what are the biotic stress and the abiotic stress, that is drought, extreme temperatures, rain. Then biotic stress, insects, microorganism, and herbivores. So these are the play very important part in defining the objectives of our breeding programs. Now, breeding for sustainable farming. I think hybrids have come into picture since 1970 or so. I think Dr. Tiku can help me out in this.
Yeah. 70s. The Indo-American hybrid seeds
75.
was in the first hybrids in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that period of, they have brought a very rational change in the vegetable farming, and I think vegetables are the crops where the hybrids have come first and really had made very profitable to the farmers. It was very profitable because it had given high heterosis to them regarding yield and also for the quality parameters. Now, and in that, the germplasm had played a very important role for the sustain, as it has been adaptable very nicely in the different climatic zones and the regions where it has been cultivated. So, I would like to say that breeding diversified germplasm for the agronomic traits is must to achieve heterosis. Still, we are struggling many a times with the heterosis factor for many of the traits, but I think it has been achieved. For yield particularly, people have achieved up to 45% of heterosis, particularly in the Solanacea crop. And we would like to also mention here that in the legume crops also, like beans and coffee, we have achieved 35 to 45% heterosis, particularly in the hybrids. So breeding trait-specific germplasm, it becomes very mandatory for us. So that is for heat tolerance, insensitive to photoperiod, and strength of the germplasm to sustain number of pickings. Why I have taken the strength of the germplasm to sustain number of pickings, because particularly when we see the vegetable crop, apart from the brassicas, if we leave it rest, all the crops, their reproducibility cycle has to be very continuous, and there at that period of time, the strength of the germplasm particularly is required to be very stable and very stable. That is what I think. And it should be definitely adaptable to the climatic zones, and it should be suitable for the natural general cultivation practices. Because certain times what happens, when we give F1 or a variety to farmers, we definitely give an is literature to it, that it should be sown according to these programs. This should be the spacing. This is how the fertilizer doses has to be given and all. But farmers, they many a times follow their own practices according to their regions. That is why we say be the natural or the general cultivation practices is very important. And it should be definitely cultivable under protected condition because, like I said, farmers are now following the practice of protected farming as well. So breeding objectives and the biotic tools and techniques. See, apart, I have given two. One is today's breeding objectives that include crop duration. Crop duration, thereby meaning to say now what is happening, particularly in the vegetable crops, leaving apart chili, because chili in that the green picking is done and also the red picking is done. And definitely when we do the red picking, the crop duration goes up to 8 or 9 months. But when the people are doing green picking, in that case, they would like to do 5 6 picking and then terminate the crop and then would like to go in for small crops like beans, coffee, or any other foods, which will be finishing again in 2 or 3 months like cucumber also. Early advancement of the generation is again required, particularly in a breeding technology. And another important is the plant structure, be it viney, be it a big. It should be a determinate type, which is required by the farmer because the growing community people now they say is the determinate plant structure is required because the cultivation practices are being followed very nicely in that. Another important factor which is being asked by the market also is the synchronization in fruiting, particularly when we see the inflorescence of the crop in one cluster, that should be complete synchronization and fruiting. I know it is very difficult to achieve in that as per the phenomenal fruiting factors in the different vegetable crops, but still people are trying to get it, whatever the genetics is being studied on. So it should be very friendly for the off-season cultivation as well. Apart from C, biotic and abiotic resistance, this is a common breeding objective for everybody. High yield, again, it is a must. Quality produce is must. Economic way of cultivation, again, is must. But these are the five points on today's breeding objectives. What I have listed out, I think these become very important from the cultivation practices which are being followed and the breeding objectives which we are defining. These become very important for us. Another important thing which is the conventional breeding is followed by in the breeding methodologies for the desired traits like resistance breeding for bacterial fungal diseases, particularly viruses also. And to a certain extent, yes, we have achieved um, resistancy, I can say, for the viruses as well. Uh, so, be it quantitative or the qualitative traits, the introgression of the resistance gene is definitely there. Here, particularly when we are breeding or in the cycle of breeding, the F2 population of the farmer, whenever we take across, the F2 population becomes very, very important. This F2 population, why it becomes very important? Because it defines the genetic traits as how the segregating ratio is taking place. It defines its inheritance also and dominance. Now, mostly, particularly in vegetable crops, the traits are governed polygenetically. And if we take the help of the biotechnological tools, many of the QTLs are defined for these traits. So, F2 population becomes very important for us to select out the perfect recombinations. And here, the breeder would like to go in for many of the selections, particularly. And in further generation F6 up to F6, the traits are fixed. This happens particularly in the case of the classical breeding, which the breeders are following. But nowadays, there are biotechnological tools have come in, and I think I have listed out a few of them, which are very important from the point of view of breeding, and it assists the breeding in a better way and helps them select out the better germplasm. That is first the diversity analysis of the germplasm which are available with us. That's the most important part. to see how a cluster of the germplasm is forming and how these clusters can be utilized for the combinations. And marker assisted breeding definitely, like it has been very successful in case of tomato where TY genes have been taken, and now for in chili also people are pouring for the chili mosaic virus and all CMV, or they have not got it completely, but people are searching for CMV and again um, chili leaf curl virus also. Genomic selections, now this is the very important part where I think that has become one of the important thing in the plant breeding. Here, when they are going for genomic selection, particularly, they define every of the type. Now, I think the sequencing genome have been sequenced for most of the crops, mostly tomato, chili, and other crops also. So we can take the help of this, and in certain of the crops, the predictive breeding can be done. Some QTLs can be identified for the traits also. So another important thing is targeted mutations, which is being taken up by the farm, and anther culture technique to produce dihaploid. Anther culture technique to produce dihaploids becomes very important, particularly for certain of the crops. I think in crops like hot pepper, people are taking that to develop resistance lines, and also for most of the qualitative traits, which can be stabilized very early in case if we have the dihaploids, and definitely they have a good stability in the different environments as well. So these are some very few important tools and as tools to understand the specific crop traits and also assist in the breeding programs of solanaceous, cucurbits and other vegetable crops. And as I said, these have been best utilized in tomato, chili, bitter gourd, and also in these also assist in accelerating process of breeding as well.
I request others to mute please till the end of the talk. Thank you.
Now, easiness in production technology. This is a must trait, particularly genetic male sterility and the cytoplasmic male sterility. As everybody knows, this has been very means successfully utilized in case of crops like chili. In okra, this has been also introduced, and again the people are taking into consideration for the production technology in that. Here, I would like to mention one very important thing is that Ankur Seeds is again the first company globally which has successfully introduced GMS-based beans and cowpea hybrids. And I have given some pictures of it where you can see the heterosis of that of the hybrids, particularly cowpea, and on the left side you can see it for the beans as well. We are using the GMS-based system here. Why I have said Ankur Seeds again is Ankur Seeds was again the first company to breed hybrid and okra. We were the first ones to give hybrid and okra. So it's a now we have given for that for cowpea and beans as well. Now gynaecious lines have also been utilized in cucurbits as cucumber and bitter gourd. So these all gynaeceous line, if we say, or GMS or CMS, these are very important in case this brings about the technology, makes production technology very easy. And as you can see, vegetable is labor oriented crops. So here again we save the labor as well as the important thing is that you receive 100% genetic purity in the produce, particularly in your efforts, and there is no chance of getting any mixture or as such in that. Now, hurdles in our breeding programs, besides abiotic and biotic stress, high degree of heterosis and yield, that always comes from the cultivable germplasm. We know wide hybridization is being used by many of the breeders. Even I have used at that when I was working particularly for chilies and for brinjals as well. But it takes time for stabilizing those traits which come in the cultivable form. So yield and certain quality matters, definitely they are to be brought in from the cultivable germplasm, and that can be achieved very easily also. And breeding diversified germplasm for the agronomic traits with introgression of resistance trait is very promising, and it is being done by the breeders as well. But ensuring the stability of these traits in the diverse environments becomes very tough task. I would like to again quote some of the examples, particularly in case of it happens in case of tomato, and also it happened in case of chili as well, when the tomato leaf curl virus or the chili leaf curl virus is there. In one region itself, one of your one hybrid which is grown particularly around in that region, one of the plot you will see it is definitely free of virus, completely free of virus, and in another region, say some 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers away from there, it shows the susceptibility, not to the extent, but still it shows the susceptibility. To understand this, it becomes very difficult many a times for the breeders. See how it has happened. But that is why we say the stability of these traits along with the agronomic traits becomes a difficult task for us. But yes, certain when the donor lines which we are selecting out, if they are uh, giving 100% resistancy, so definitely you see particularly that in particular environment or particular region, the resistance is there in your F1s particularly. Hence, now in breeding process, one important objective has been added, that is the region-specific breeding. As we know in India, according to the geography, there is a 15 agroclimatic zones. And now, I think for these 15 agroclimatic zones, earlier we used to divide it particularly, there were 12 zones only, like from agri trials, and we used to divide as north, central, and south, and take the germplasm as such. But now what is happening? Particularly if you go to a region like UP, again it is divided into eastern and the western zone. A germplasm is suitable in your eastern zone, might not be suitable for the western zone. If you see particularly in Rajasthan again is divided into three zones, and every where in there the tomato is grown 3 seasons, and in 2 seasons like Kharif and Rabi, the two germplasms are very much suitable. But definitely when we go in for the third season, that is summer season, you have to search out for a different germplasm for it. So now your breeding objectives are defined as per the season and as per the region specificity. And that is why I have again put a picture here for the different climatic zones in India. Cultivation for sustainable farming. Now we have seen the breeding part of it, and in the breeding part of it, I think the biotechnological tools as well as the classical breeding practices and exposing your germplasm to different regions becomes very important. Now we come down to the cultivation of whatever the germplasm we are breeding, particularly F1s. Here, particularly in the Asian countries as well as in India, the open field cultivation is a phenomenal practice, and it becomes very important that the for this sowing and the planting season, month of time, it plays very important role. Use of drip irrigation, mulch, integrated pest management, agriculture practices, these have a direct effect on the plant growth. And again, the farmers definitely they follow it. It's not so that they don't do it, but definitely they are dependent on the environment as well. And the damages which are caused by natural stresses as light, temperature, excess rainfall, and some biotic factors like having sucking pest incidents, etc. The protected cultivation practices are being followed by farmers like polyhouse, net house, and utilization of shade nets. Here, particularly, why I have given utilization of shade nets, when we say the farmer should have a perfect polyhouse as per the design and as now the polyhouses are also there as per the regions. necessity the polyhouses are made. But what farmers will do according to their resources available, they use shade nets, and they are not many times they are not aware of also which shade nets to be used. But particularly if you see the regions like Western Maharashtra or particularly in some part of central India and Gujarat, there the farmers are definitely following this practices very nicely of net houses and shade nets as well. And they are definitely taking the good crops like capsicum, tomato, and uh, in different regions cucumber as well, which are taken up under the shade nets. But these also have increased the budget of cultivation with increasing the bacterial and fungal diseases. So again, the control measures for the bacterial and fungal diseases brings in weightage uh, to breed bacterial and fungal disease resistant material. Particularly when we are taking crops like capsicum and cucumbers in the shade nets as well as in the polyhouse. Here I have given just a picture of it is seven major practices which are followed in the sustainable agriculture, that is organic farming, crop rotation, and mulching, etc. Integrated pest management. Organic farming definitely people are following it but sometimes it's difficult to understand. A country like India, which is having so many mouths to feed, how much agriculture, organic farming can help us out. Definitely, it is must look into the situation and look into the health factors of the human beings. Modern applications like use of solar energy, new spraying techniques, and have helped in the simplification and easiness of the crop cultivation. The app technology that is now the smart mobiles are there with every of the farmers, so they know the where the seed is available, when it is going to rain, when there will be there sunshine. That means the forecasting of the weather is also there, and how to nurture their crops means what fertilizer applications that can be taken, and how to care about the crop if you are having any disease or pest. So these modern apps are also helping the farmers, and they are making a use of it also. Again, we come down to germplasm and hybrids. Looking to the scenario of our breeding technologies and looking to the scenario of the present, again, I will come down to the thing that as we say, 65% of the farming communities still are following the traditional practices, and few of them are taking up the new technologies which are coming up. Germplasm is definitely going to play a very, very important role. And for that, what is needed is high heterosis, high adaptability, and suitability to the agroclimatic zone. It's very important. That's why. So I think, uh, and in hybrids, why we say hybrids? Because it's F1, and with the combination of two germplasm, can keep different traits in that, and then the combination definitely will give express the dominant traits in the F1. This can be achieved in combination of the graded specific lines and also exposing them to diversified environment. And evaluation of these lines with respect to new technology, its adaptability and suitability will give value to the crop. That means it's very valuable for the farming community. One very important characteristics about the vegetable crop is its look and attractiveness that appeals the consumers. Hence, the color, shape, size, its lustrousness, it makes vegetables a different amongst. It makes vegetables very different amongst all crops. Definitely, the field crops which are also there. So, the most why people are attracted towards this. Definitely, one important factor is those are cultivable easily in a small region. Also, they can cultivate. It nurtures the human society as well, and definitely um, brings in the remuneration for the farming community as well. Now, concept of smart farming has come now. So, concept of smart farming, I think, has come because of the competitive efforts which are in the market and utilization of the new technology. I've just given a picture here as to why the smart farming is there, and the awareness about the farming business now. Uh, Particularly, this has been very nicely followed, particularly in the Western Maharashtra. Again, I'm coming to Western Maharashtra and in some part of the West Bengal and in Gujarat also. This has led this concept, utilization of technology, hybrids and market. This has led to the concept of smart farming. But the thing is, for this new of the extension work has to be done so that the farmer are aware of it and how they can utilize this technology is becomes very important for them. Now, upgradation and advancement. I think my talk also covers many a times I'm speaking about the market because see, be it consumers, be it farmer community, or be it seed producers, ultimate are we all are reaching to the market, and from market only we are getting a jump. So that is why upgradation and advancement is needed. Because the seed market is becoming very demanding by day for productivity, quality, biotic stress, with no compromises done by the cultivators. The impact is directly on the cultivators and as well as on the seed producers. And now farmers have got an inclination towards the organized farming. As I had said here also, organized farming, meaning thereby they plan their crop according to the season, according to the cash crops, and they would like to definitely go in for 2 3 crops uh, which will be coming good in that season. Coming good in that season means the complete cycle of the products is complete cycle of the crop is there, and the fruiting and the flowering is there, and they can reach the market at a framed period of time. Hence, whatever the modifications, alterations, and the changes which are taking place in our surrounding, be it like selection, definitely helps in our selection process while we are doing the breeding. A good example I can quote here is we have introduced one material in Chile. So that material comes in 65 to 70 days in the farming. Farmers are definitely informed now. We are the first ones in the market, and we are getting a good price for it. So these are the things one has to take into consideration while we are defining our breeding programs. News upgrade in vegetables. Biofortified products might be in demand in the market. This is my thinking because there was a news that tomato variety which can boost your vitamin D levels is in the news, and the researchers have used CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology for developing it. And with the present scenario of virus that is COVID, human beings vitamin D levels are very important. So I think now this will definitely be or will be there in the future, and people will demand for these type of products. Another news was there, but this has come in Hindustan Times. I have not written the reference here. For the legume beans, the high protein content and the calcium content is there, and now even the doctors are recommending it to eat the beans and calcium content to for calcium content and the protein content. Need of the hour. What do we need is to accelerate the transition and the sustainable agriculture is the research and innovative thinking. Cross-sector collaboration, definitely it must be there, and it should be there. Transparency and traceability, regenerative practices, and training and education. So this is the need of the hour when we think about the sustainable agriculture. Now, new thoughts for farming business which are coming in are soilless culture. But definitely, what I think is soilless culture are being can be utilized in the breeding processes, particularly for accelerating the breeding programs. Again, speed breeding is another important thing which is being thought of by the breeders to economize the time duration. Because if we have to breed up to 6 generations, the speed breeding is must, and how we can minimize or more means model use economize our time duration to come to do the complete cycle of breeding that has to be thought of. So in particularly this speed breeding has been is being utilized in rice now, but I think people are thinking about vegetable crops as well. Mechanized farming, yes, uh, this has to come, and because vegetable being labor oriented crops, mechanized farming is must. What the transplanters have been introduced and other cultivation practices are also being done now. The drone technology has come for spraying. So all these things are definitely should be there and should be helpful for the farmer for cultivation practice. Now, one-time harvest technology, this is a thought just have come to my mind, and I have put a question mark because vegetables, the harvesting or the picking is done mainly for minimum 12 to 15 pickings are done. But I remember one Dr. Ankur, from PAU Ludhiana, he had introduced once one tomato that was one-time harvest. Tomato, particularly that was meant for the processing business. So I think we can definitely think of this one-time harvest technology, and the house is definitely open to think about this and can put their own opinions on that. So this is one important thing. Foreseer breeding vegetable crops. Here, breeding for masses is very important, and as we are bounded by the law of nature, and still again for a period of 10 years or so, I think field cultivation is definitely going to be there. 10 years, more than 10 years. And exploration and utilization of local germplasm in the breeding processes. This should this is a very important factor when we speak about the sustainability and adaptability of the crop or particular germplasm in that particular regions. So utilization of this is very important. Technology should be given prior importance because technologies are definitely coming, new technologies are coming up and which can be utilized like I have given dihaploid formation, marker assisted breeding, it is being followed, and then genomic selection. These are very important, and fighting against all viruses in our crops. I would like to share one thing is particularly now these viruses have not left even the leafy vegetable crops. People, the farmers are deciding in which season, which region, where to plant, so that they can avoid the viruses in these crops as well. So, fighting with viruses is our and searching out for the new resistant germplasm is very important. And economize the inputs in farming and increase the potentiality of germplasm by sustainable farming. I think this again is a very important factor. Uh, I would like to add few things here. I have given one example where we have used GMS lines, particularly in our cowpea and beans. Um, that the hybrids which we have introduced in the market, those are giving near about 35 to 45% retrosis. the farmer doesn't have to take 1 acreage of cowpea. If he takes half acre also, he is getting a good yield from that. Moreover, the quality of the produce is good, and he can, if he wishes to finish off the crop by 6 months, it is good. That is again, the material is suitable for the climatic zone. It is eco means the good photosynthetic processes there. The duration, as I said, can be kept as per the farmer wants, and important being it is photo insensitive, so it can be taken in any region. So these types of innovative thinking has to be there for other crops as well, and that's how the breeding processes the projects can be defined for the vegetable crops. And thank you so much for your patient hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Manju. Thanks a lot for a very practical and very, putting thoughts into what will take us in future for vegetable breeding. Before I try to sum up, I think, Aparna, can you handle the questions? And some people have raised hands, some have
Yes,
asked
sir.
questions. So let that
Manju ma'am,
happen, and
can
then
you?
I'll sum up.
Sure, sir. Ma'am, can you please close your screen so then we can have everybody on the
You
full
can close
screen?
the screen.
Yes, sir.
Khadi sir is here who raised the hand. Khadi sir.
Good morning, Dr. Khadi. Nice to see you. You are on mute.
Yeah, good morning. Actually, it was a nice, gesture. I could able to learn many things from the vegetable breeding. Actually, I have one general question about the vegetable crops. Especially when you visit the farmers, they complain about actually the local cultivars have been spoiled because of the introduction of the hybrids. Definitely, we know that because of the hybrid technology in vegetables, it has boosted our economy, as well as the requirement has been almost met, we can say. But farmers are again complaining that their local cultivars have been spoiled after the introduction of these hybrids. They are almost lost. That's what they say. How best we can help them in protecting their local cultivars, because there is no other go. We have to go for the hybrids because we need the production and productivity. But this question, how we can solve? That's what I wanted to have some answer from you. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Manju.
Hello.
Yeah, you can.
So, firstly, good morning to Dr. Khadi. I think I'm seeing him after a long time. The important thing is, it's not so that we have lost the local material have been lost or so. I recall one tomato, Musa Ruby, breaded long time back. I think when we were in particularly college or so. What they're thinking is that the quality of the this has been lost. But when we see our hybrid material and when they taste the hybrid material and they cultivate the hybrid material, it is not so. Still, the tomato, which are the F1s which are coming in the market, are they have that same store sour taste. It has got the TSS, acidic TSS, not to very high extent. Moreover, the quality of the produce and the hybrid, particularly the yield is also the same. So I don't think the local materials or the ones which were there have been lost. This is my thinking.
No, they
But
say that
how
actually,
we see
because of the maize sterile hybrids cultivated along with the local cultivars,
Mhm.
their local cultivars have become sterile, something like that.
Oh, no, no.
No,
It should be there
it doesn't happen.
because of the cross pollination. That problem must be there. How
No,
best we
no,
can
sir.
address?
No.
How best we can
No.
protect?
No, but I think
Yes.
Dr. Manju, I mean, can I just
Please.
Yeah, sir,
there
definitely.
are two things. One is conservation of our old germplasm, which is very important, and that has to be the responsibility of not only the breeders at our individual seed companies, but also by the National Bureau of Plant Genetic
Plant
Resources,
genetic.
and they should spend some more time on rejuvenating them, make sure that the pure cultures are made. The second part is that while breeding, it is clear that even in field crops or vegetable crops, the first 2 decades were spent on two things. One, to making them more disease resistant, and to increase the yield so that the farmer gets a better yield. I think time has come, as Dr. Manju said in her last slides, to add the nutritional quality. I think that aspect over the last 2-3 decades has not been addressed. I agree to that. But I think many of the companies, and I think even in the public sector, there's a lot of biofortification research going on to produce higher nutritional quality. She talked about Pusa Ruby. I remember I came out with selection 22, which is in no less sugar acid ratio than Pusa Ruby,
Yes.
and it was ruling the market for 20 years as a national check. Arka Vikas, it is called. So when we bred, we also bred in addition to the yield and sustainability. Sustainability means wider adaptability of a. There are over the last 30 years in vegetables, you will see a lot of hybrids or varieties that have remained stable across the country. And some, they were released and 2-3 years later they are lost. Why? Because they didn't have the stability across country. So those things will have to be kept in our breeding program. And as Dr. Manju also mentioned, one of the critical areas in our plant breeding has to be multi-location testing. We have to go to each region to make sure that our genes are stable across locations. Otherwise, we will face those problems that purple will become green, or green will show more of purple because of the environmental effects. So those things will have to be taken into consideration into the breeding. And your point is very well taken. I am sure we will have to breed for more nutritional quality. And definitely we must conserve, because we may not even know the genes that are present because we have not tested them against the various climatic zones. So those materials need to be conserved by everybody. Thank you. That was in addition to what Dr. Manju said.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, anybody else?
There are several questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
If person would like to ask the question by himself, or should I read? There is one question for Mr. Patel. He's asking, please share detail about GMS line development in self-pollinated vegetable crop.
I think he's especially referring to the beans you talked about. I am also interested. I am sure Dr. Manoj Falak wouldn't want to tell that to everybody, but at least give us some idea. That's a good question. Dr. Falak is there.
Yeah,
Maybe,
Yeah, he's there. He's there,
Good
sir.
morning, Dr. Tiku, and good morning, Dr. Aparna. Very nice presentation, Dr. Manju.
Yeah.
Sir, there is no hidden secret in developing any GMS line in any crop. So it is a
Yeah.
general breeding procedure what we have
Yeah.
followed, and that is a mutation breeding. We have done mutation in cowpea and beans, and we are fortunate enough that we have developed stable GMS lines in both the crops. Moreover, it is not only about development of GMS lines. You need to have a very good cross-pollination mechanism.
Yes.
So that is all. Thank you, sir.
I think that is the critical point. No, I mean,
Yes,
do
sir.
you have exerted stigma in these, or so that bees work on it, or is that what is there?
That
How
we
are you
can
doing?
talk, sir,
Okay.
in person. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it is not.
But you are saying that you are getting cross pollination in the seed production plots, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Okay. But I want to tell the viewers that this is the first time. The only other self-pollinated crop like pulses hybrid was Pigeon P from ICRISAT that still has problems of seed production. They have not been able to get stable seed production.
Yeah.
So I want to congratulate Ankur Seeds. Dr. Palak has been the breeder. Dr. Manju overall leading it. So that's really, I am looking forward to its performance in the field. You are talking of beans. Are you talking of Dolichos beans or are you talking of French beans?
Sir, I'm talking about
Dolichos
Dolichos
beans.
beans. Uh,
Dolichos
that
beans. Okay.
that is lab purpureus, and
Yeah, yeah.
we are talking about coffee that is Vigna unguiculata.
Yeah, yeah. Coffee, I know. I was beans. I was not sure because I thought it was Dolichos. So thanks for clearing.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
Yes.
think congratulations for that. Any other?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So there is similar question. It is asked how to develop a GMS line in cowpea. I think that has been answered. So I go to the
Mutations.
next
We said
question.
mutations. Yeah.
Yeah. So next question
Yeah,
is
it is
by
good
Mr.
question.
Vinayaka. He's asking before
Sorry?
introducing. There is a question from Mr. Vinayaka. He's asking before introducing the male sterile line in hybrid seed production, how breeder identify the male sterile line in natural environment. Can you explain by giving some example?
Yeah, it is
Okay. Yeah.
actually easily possible to identify in the field because they are more vigorous. They don't bear any fruits, and if you are lucky enough, you can easily identify male sterile plants in the field. It is obvious looking plants which are not bearing fruits and they are producing. They are not producing any fruits.
I would like to add to this, particularly in case of chili, when we are identifying, want to see if the plant is sterile or so, like Dr. Falak said, the plant grows very vigorously and the flowers are there, but the flowers they shed off very fast. You don't see any fruit setting in that. So that is how one should go and just open up the flower and see. It looks sterile. So the vigorousness of the plant itself shows that there is sterility, particularly in this crop. This can be very easily
It is
identified in the
difficult.
case of chili.
Yeah, it is difficult in cross-pollinated crops, but in self-pollinated crop, it is very easy.
Yeah, I am reminded of a little story. Do we have time, Aparna? Short story.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yes, sir.
Aparna, I just
Please, sir.
I want to share this with you. You know, I am sure all those who breed tomatoes know Charlie Rick, right? Charlie
Yeah.
Rick is supposed to be the father of tomato genetics and plant breeding. We tomato
Yes, sir.
breeders owe to him everything because all the species were collected by him. You know, when he was starting his PhD program, he told me that he was told by his guide that, you know, there are these bull plants in the tomato field. They used to call them bull plants. And they are just growing vegetatively. There is nothing there. And he went and he told him, you do your PhD on this. You tell me why these bull plants appear. And they found that generally in those OP pollinated plants, once in 2000, once in 3000 plants, you will get a plant like that. And then he started working on that. And that led to the trisomic analysis in tomatoes. And that led to the identification of so many genes on chromosomes, because they found that these plants were sterile because there was either an extra chromosome or there was a sterility gene somewhere because they were not. So he did a lot. He had identified some like 30 male sterile, genes, MS1 to MS36, and then he found that these additional one chromosome, extra for any 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they found that which gene was overexpressed, and that is how they found so no molecular markers. They found genes on chromosomes by doing trisomic analysis, and that came from observing the bull plants. So my advice to whoever asked that question and anybody else, especially you will find them in interspecific crossing. Please use the germplasm, raise a very large F2 population, and you will find male sterile plants. And then it is your creativity how to utilize that and bring it to stability. And then that will be a sustainable way of doing natural sterility. Dr. Falak also mentioned you can do it by mutations. Today you can do it by gene editing, by knocking out the fertile gene. So I'm sure that is also possible. Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, there are a few more questions in chat box. Yashashwini is asking, what are preferable, organic vegetable in Reliance or fresh vegetable in market? Yashashwini, can you elaborate more?
I think she wants to understand whether organic farming and taking it
Hello?
from a normal vegetable market, or taking the what is available in the Reliance and all the Star market. You
So
get
there are-
graded vegetables. So what do you prefer, or what is your advice?
Hello?
Yeah.
Can I
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm saying is the fresh vegetables from the nearest market. I think that is to be preferred many a times. In case of Reliance vegetable, uh, those the vegetables which have got a good shelf life and which can be kept good in the protected conditions like cold storage or so. And if they are fresh, then definitely you can take. But preference should always be given to the fresh vegetables which are directly coming from the market, from the field to the market. And if nearby the fields are there and the local market is there, I think local market will definitely have the fresh vegetables.
I will just add one more thing, that what is happening globally now in India also. This there is a clamor for organic food,
Yeah. Yes.
and you sell those 3 times the price. Although the farmer almost gets 30 or 40% less yield. So unless they are able to, so this today is available only for, I call them the Amitabh Bachchans of the country. They can pay 500 rupees for a bread. For them, organic farming is okay. For us, I don't think we can sustain on organic farming. But I think 10 years from now, what is happening today is companies are buying organic, companies like biological companies, like Syngenta bought Balagro and many other companies who are working on organics. So what will happen is you will have to breed for, as Dr. Manju said, in a sustainable farming means you will have to breed from germplasm, varieties and germplasm that can sustain on less NPK, less, on biologicals only, neem
Yes.
pesticides and all. So you will have to breed for that before organic farming becomes normal. So I think it is a 10 to 20-year process when we will see less and less of chemical fertilizer-based vegetables and more organic. But that is a task. I think that is, one of the summing points from Dr. Manju's talk today, that we need to breed for that organic sustainability through exploiting the germplasm. Today, the germplasm exploitation of the species of each crop is not even 5%. Tomato is one of the most worked out vegetables as far as interspecific hybridization. There also, today we are at 5% of the variability that is available in the related wild species of tomato. Same is the case with, in other cases, not even maybe 1%. So for all the breeders there, please go to interspecific hybridization, and then you will enter into organic farming maybe in 10 years from now. It will not happen overnight. So if you have money, go and buy the organics. But we have still some problems with whether it is really organic or what is happening. I don't want to get into that detail. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. Akshay Arbi has raised the hand.
Yes, Akshay.
Is there any difference between hydroponically grown vegetables and soil grown vegetables? Because soil gives them vegetables complex nutrition which we able to provide through hydroponics. So is there any difference in flavor or any nutrition content that the hydroponically grown vegetables cannot provide?
Dr. Manju, you want to?
I think I don't have much information regarding the hydroponically grown vegetables, but definitely there shouldn't be any difference
Yes.
if it is taken. There shouldn't be any difference.
It is based on
It
genetics.
is based on the
Yeah.
nutrients provided to the
Yeah.
for the
So,
plant growth, and if it is in adequate measures, I think there should not be any changes in that.
see, same variety grown under hydroponics or soil, the nutrient content will remain
It's
same.
going to be the same.
But under hydroponics, you will get much more yield because you will get the full genetic potential of that variety, because hydroponics, you are covering all the external problems
External.
that might be faced by the crop. So that would be the answer. You are right. There is no difference between them because it is the genetics of that variety that leads to the nutrition. Yeah.
But my question is, sir, but soil may provide the nutrients which we fail to provide through hydroponics.
No. Hydroponics provides that by artificial supply of those nutrients. You know, the hydroponic guys have done a complete analysis of what the plant needs. It's total. That's why you are getting, like, it is like what happens in protected cultivation is that if the tomato fruit has 5 flowers, all the 5 become fruits. Outside, only 3 on an average will become a fruit. And
Yes,
over pickings, that will continue to have 5 fruits in the hydroponics or protected cultivation, while as in the tomatoes outside, 3 will become 2, 2 will become 1 at the end.
1.
So that's why the yields start going lower.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And
So
anybody
Mr.
else?
Milan Kulkarni for Nirmal Seed, he's asking, is there a need to have a separate breeding program on biofortification in the vegetable crop for different micronutrients?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. For biofortification, you need to have a different project, particularly for the vegetable crop which you are selecting out in that.
Yeah.
I have quoted one example for tomato. For tomato, it was a totally different project which they had taken for breeding tomato for high content of vitamin D.
Yeah.
So we need to have a different project for biofortification.
Yeah, Milanji, you need more investment and you need a separate project. You need to identify the germplasm first, from which you need to transfer those traits. I would refer you to a paper by one Dr. Jan, Cornell University. Read that on tomato and see how they are redefining nutritional quality in breeding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There's a question from Mr. Vishal Satakara. Maybe,
Yeah.
he raised a hand. Maybe he'd like to ask for answer.
Okay.
Mr. Vishal?
Okay. विशाल बोलिए.
Mr. Vishal?
विशाल आप बोलिए. Yes.
No, he has some issue. I think there is some voice, but very dim voice.
Sir.
Yeah.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Sir, nowadays we all are talking about increased productivity and specific vegetable crop. Why not we are going for gynoecious line in vegetables like bitter gourd or something else?
Yeah, sir, I have already mentioned particularly the use of gynoecious line in bitter gourds and cucumber, and breeders are using it. So no problem in that. For high yields, already those are being utilized, particularly by the breeders.
But utilized for making hybrids. As such, gynoecious line will not give high yield.
No. As such, gynoecious line won't get, definitely.
Yeah, you have to use it for.
You have to use it for hybridization.
For hybridization and then breeding. Yeah. I think somebody raised a question on. Can you repeat that question? I was seeing a question on. Sorry.
There is a question from Mr. Girish Patel.
Girish Patel. Dr. Manju, you want to answer that, or you want?
Sir, I didn't see the question. Please.
Yeah, he
Can
says,
I have a question?
is there any gene-edited CRISPR-Cas9 vegetable crop available in the world? I think you already told them about.
I gave tomato one.
Yeah, I can add to that.
It was from Philippines.
And I can add to that. Japan, they got the approval for that that helps in lowering the blood pressure. It's a GABA protein
Yes.
tomato from Japan.
Japan. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are lots of them now, because Australia, USA, they have approved gene editing, and Europe is also started to approve. Okay. I think, are we done?
I think we are done.
Yes, sir. There is no
Which
more.
is commercially
There is a-
organized,
Thank you.
released,
Thank
commercialized.
you. I think you can see that the subject is subject is very interesting, and because I think we have already had a lot of discussion. I will make it very brief, and I think the brief thing is that number one, future, we are getting heat, we are getting climate change, we are getting problems of disease and pests, abiotic stresses, drought and all. So time has come that we utilize germplasm, look at the stability of traits across the various regions, and then utilize them in breeding and breed for more sustainable varieties and hybrids, varieties in self-pollinated crops like pulses and beans, etc. And of course, wherever heterosis is successful, like tomato, chilies, okra, etc., or brassica vegetables, there we will have to do that. So the need is that we need to go into the wild species, and then select for. The other thing is the multi-location trials. I think when you are having a hybrid, please make sure that all of you do multi-location trials to find genotype, environmental stability, and then find the most stable hybrid that can, or either position it only those places where it does well. And she also mentioned that agronomy is very important. So you need to find best agronomic cultivation practices for the hybrids that you produce. You cannot probably have a new hybrid and then use the old agronomy. So you must do what we call spacing and fertilizer trials. You may have to do to get the best. So not only you are giving the new hybrid, but you are also telling the farmers this is what you need to get its maximum protection, maximum yields in the. Then the new technologies, I mean, solar, drone application, using modern apps to identify diseases. There are companies now where farmers send photographs of their vegetable crops to I know a company in Pune, AgroStar, they have 200 people sitting in a room like an IT company. They get WhatsApp pictures from the farmers, and they go back and tell them what to spray and what not to spray, etc. So we need modern technology to get into this sustainable farming. And I think more and more power to people like Ankur and Dr. Falak. We need hybrids in pulse crops, the beans and cowpeas. And I'm sure this is just the beginning. The new things will happen in that. Smart farming, of course, you will base your smart farming on your nutritional analysis being there in advance, knowing exactly what are the nutrients needed for various crops, etc. And of course, biotechnology, especially gene editing, I think is going to be the future. As she mentioned that, we may have to get them, because you will get better approval from the authorities, not on GM crops, but on gene edited crops, because you are just knocking out a gene, you're not adding foreign DNA, etc. Somebody was asking SDN1, SDN2. Those have been approved now, and they are going through the final process, which means I think one is for knocking out, deletion, and one is for inserting, adding that gene. So those are possible to be approved. So I think sustainable farming is the way forward, but breeders have to make sure that they are keeping these in mind while breeding and screening their materials and putting it in their breeding programs. I think that would be all. Thank you very much, Dr. Manju. I think it's an interesting subject, and I am sure everybody has enjoyed that talk. And thank you all for attending this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tikku. Thank you, Dr. Aparna. And I again thank organizers ATPBR for giving me this opportunity to give this talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. And thank you all the participants for joining the call today. We will be coming back next month with another exciting lecture. Wish you a very great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.